Joining us right now from New Delhi, Bloomberg News senior reporter Dan Strumpf. Dan, good to have you here with Joe and me and Lisa this morning. We got to talk about this. So go back to 1947. That's when India became independent after, what, 200 years of rule by Britain. Country is increasingly a force to reckon with. What stood out in this speech from Modi that will get them there?
Yeah, so this was very much a forward-looking speech, a speech about India's economy, a speech about India's development. As you said, the sort of top-line takeaway was a sort of reiteration of this long-standing goal that this government has, which is to sort of make India a developed country by 2047. And that is the 100-year centenary anniversary of India's independence. Being a developed country, it's a bit of a term of art, right? But it really means, raising up the economy, making sure that the country is technologically competitive, that its companies and businesses and financial institutions are competitive, that its people are educated at a high level. And so that was really the big takeaway from the speech, and some really high level ambitions set out to sort of get there.
High level indeed, Dan. The country will have up to 8 more chip plants, he said, in the next 7 to 8 years. That alone is something the United States can't even seem to do. Can they pull it off in India?
Well, it is very ambitious, right? And India is already well on its way, actually, in when it comes to the chip industry. I mean, it's primarily a force right now in chip assembly, which is on the lower end of the sort of value chain when it comes to chips. But getting there is a big priority, and it really speaks to this high-level ambition that India has to be a technological force to be reckoned with. So, I mean, it's not just chips, but it's AI, it's
5 nuclear
high-tech assembly. That's right. Nuclear power was a big highlight of this speech.
Are they as power hungry as we are because of AI development?
Oh, I mean, totally. I mean, this is also a big priority for India, is to become a big data center hub. And as we all know, I mean, these data centers are enormous hogs of power. And so, I mean, building more nuclear capacity is a huge sort of, plank in this pillar to kind of get there and be a player in AI. And so that goal for nuclear power is actually it's 100 gigawatts, which is 11 times the current capacity in India. But, this is the goal, and that's where they want to get to.
Hey, I do think about, though, the youth problems that we see around the world. We certainly see it here in the United States. Folks that can't find jobs come out of with a college education, even those that do not. India has seen also its share of issues. How is it dealing with that? How does it create some programs and policies that actually address that significantly? They've been dealing with some protests recently, not necessarily directly related, but this is certainly an issue for them.
Well, no, I mean, it really is quite related, and it tied into some of the high points of today's speech. You're right. I mean, India is just coming off this weeks-long protest movement. I mean, you can see that you've got some of that footage right there. A lot of these protests got very heated, very violent. It was led by this youth, this sort of student-led movement called the Cockroach Janta Party, which was kind of what began as a kind of a satire, but turned into a really powerful student-led movement protesting sort of shortcomings in the country's education system, feelings of frustration that young people are not getting a payoff in terms of employment, in terms of opportunities from the education that they're getting, and a sense in India that young people are feeling a bit left down, left out, and let down. And you do have a real unemployment crisis in India generally, but it's particularly acute among young people. Something like 40% of young graduates in India with a college degree can't find work. And so, that's a real problem, of course, for people's livelihoods, but it's a big political problem for this country as well, because, I mean, we all know that, young people out of work without much to do, this can be a problem for any government. And so this was part of the speech. I mean, Modi does want to address this problem. He has been taking steps to show that he's listening to these young people. There was a major announcement, maybe the biggest announcement from today's speech was this announcement to introduce free free coaching for young people who are taking competitive exams. And so that's kind of one way that the government is trying to sort of listen to the young people and show that it is kind of hearing them and you know, attentive to this jobs crisis.
We just got 30 seconds left, Dan. Self-reliance came up repeatedly in this address. Who does India not want to be reliant upon?
It's a great question, and it's a huge highlight for the government these days. You know, India is a major importer of lots of important goods. It's a huge oil importer. Yep. It's a huge importer of weapons, of defense. It's the world's second largest importer of weapons, in fact. And so it's a big priority for this government to be more self-reliant in these areas, to be more self-reliant in manufacturing, and to overall be a stronger, more self-reliant economy.